Techland's most ambitious project to date has finally made its way into the hands of the press and content creators. And now, this is one of the most pivotal moments for the game's future. What do they think? How does the parkour feel? How is the combat? How about the open world? And more importantly, how does the game run on last-gen consoles? After spending roughly 3 to 4 hours with Dying Light 2, I can confidently say that all these questions will be answered in today's video. What you're about to watch will be a complete rundown of my detailed thoughts, opinions, and honest review of my experience playing Dying Light 2. But before we do begin, let me tell you what I cannot talk about for complete transparency. All of the following are completely off limits. There are some where I'm able to discuss them, I just cannot show you. And in order to fully grasp my thoughts about this game, I've broken down this video into 10 different sections. And with all that said, let's begin. Okay, so let me say this first. The parkour system is so much more complex than Dying Light 1. There is so much going for it. Lots of animations, lots of geometry to climb, and the verticality, how you can use the world to scale buildings, go through buildings, fly across buildings, jump off of buildings. Truly does live up to the expectations that the developers have been setting for months with it. They have this amazing world, amazing setting and environment. It's beautiful, but it's met with a parkour system that needs a tiny bit of work before launching, in my opinion. And you know that this leads me to the big question that all of you have. Is the parkour floaty? Is it slow? Yes-ish. I do have to say that we played our demo with little to no skills at all. A lot of the parkour moves and abilities are indeed locked behind the skill tree, like wall running, far jump, and much more. It is undoubtedly going to be a completely different experience with no skills versus all the skills. That's something that you would expect in a game like this. What I do like a lot is that each skill that you unlock, you can clearly see signs of progression. You are working towards a character that becomes stronger and more agile with every skill that you unlock. But in the current build, and from what I played, the parkour was indeed floaty at some areas. It's very noticeable once you start up the game and play it for the first time, but as time goes on, you do get used to it. I think if they turned up the speed a notch, just a teeny tiny bit, and give you a little bit more control while you are free falling, it will benefit the game immensely. I do think that the parkour is inches away from being perfect. It's not quite there yet. I think it does need a little bit of finalizing before launching. What I noticed too is that this world and the environment is somewhat built upon the idea of this current parkour movement system. So for example, the floatiness allows me to reach jumps that I don't think I would be able to make if it wasn't in the game. I do have to say, there was kind of a way around it. By increasing the FOV, it made it a little bit less noticeable, but if you're a console player, you may not have that option. Overall, it does feel slower than the first game, and sometimes when you do interact with geometry, it's very clear. Like, there are times where you'll be running, doing parkour, and there's a narrow opening that you can vault through, and sometimes it's much quicker to just go around the narrow opening than slowly move through it. The structures are intended for easy movement and shortcuts, but it sometimes does work against you. There is a skill to make this particular situation a little bit faster, but overall, it does feel that the parkour is slower at moments. It's not as bad as what it looks like in trailers and gameplays, I will say that for sure. There are times where the parkour feels great, works great, and then there are others where it feels slightly off and odd. It just overall feels like it needs a little bit more fine tuning. But to be honest, the floatiness actually isn't my biggest problem with the parkour system. It is the magnetizing that the game does for you. I think Noviex actually went and put it the best way. The game commits you. Every big fan of Dying Light knows that there is like this magnetic pull for you on certain objects, for example, cars, the bags, etc. In Dying Light 2, that pull is way too strong. It actually led to some deaths of mine. It feels like you're in a battle between where you want to go and where the game wants to go. It happened to me many times, and unfortunately, I can't show the footage. In a way, it feels like the movement is constraining you. It's very apparent in some clips, while in some others, not as much. That whole realm sort of needs reworking. I don't know if the hitbox is way too big or what the boundaries are for it, but it does need some work. The game strives on giving you the tools and customization to be your own player and character, but it's limiting you on the most important mechanic in a movement-focused game. Just a little bit more fine-tuning to some of the technicalities with the speed and magnetism, it will be equally as exceptional as the other elements in this game. Which goes and leads me to what I think is by far the biggest improvement over the original that I noticed during my time while playing Dying Light 2, the combat. Alright, the combat, super satisfying, not only against infected, but of course also against human AI as well. Human AI combat was laughable in Dying Light 1. They had insane, hyper-intense skills where they were able to block almost every swing at you. The combat in the original against human AI was the worst aspect. There's no doubt about that. Even the devs are aware of it. It was heavily reworked in the sequel and actually provides for engaging gameplay moments that are not frustrating anymore. One of my favorites now is you can pick up a propane tank, ignite it in your hands, time it right, and throw it down to ensure chaos. But be sure to look around for nearby ones too. Another important aspect to mention too is that there is combat that goes on around the world that's not just between you and the AI. The AI fight amongst themselves, and they actually put up a good fight. Both sides do. A fight between human AI and infected can really go either way. In the original, it was laughable at how easily infected took down humans. Humans couldn't stand a chance at all. You can very clearly see that extra detail and work that went into ensuring the combat not only was fixed and more engaging for you, but also for the environment that you're playing in. There are also some major changes that players will experience when they get their hands on the game. A major question that I keep seeing: are there weapon repairments in the game? There are, but it's not your traditional repairment system that we're used to in Dying Light 1. It's a little bit more complex now, just like the rest of the game is. I had a deep conversation with one of the developers about this, and it's my understanding that in lieu of scraps to repair, you now use weapon mods, and that increases your durability. So for example, I had the Last Hope, and I upgraded it using a spark mod, which added electricity to my weapon. By adding this mod, it increased the durability by 50. And then from there, you are free to go on and keep adding on the spark mod if you have enough tools, thereby increasing the durability again by that same number. It was unclear to me whether or not there was a cap, or if you can just keep on modding it over and over to keep that weapon. A lot of the weapons that I got my hands on, especially the ones that were modded, are just insane and so much fun to use. They really did up the ante in this regard. Do have to say though, the bow is by far one of the most overpowered weapons in this game. And we had, I think it was a blue bow, and we were one-shotting a lot of enemies with it. There's a gold bow in the shop, so I can't even imagine what that one is like. And of course, one of the biggest changes that you will notice is the inclusion of stealth. Now, this is a completely new, revamped mechanic added into the sequel. The original did not have this fully fleshed out stealth system. The quote-unquote stealth system in the original is non-existent. It's not there. As every traditional stealth system, it offers up a new way to play. The basic starting takedown is like your traditional stealth takedown in any open world out there on the market. Think something like Far Cry. It functions sort of in the same realm. You can stealth against both human and infected AI. And in my experience, it was pretty solid. I didn't run into any issues with it. Definitely goes and creates more opportunities to have fun, which is one of Dying Light's strongest suits. Overall, the combat is gory, bloody, and it's brutal. What I did notice, now I don't know if this was the game being finicky, but you can't go and chop up bodies like you're used to. I know. Can we get an F in the chat, Dexter? Thank you. But with the introduction of stealth, more weapons, tools, extra parkour abilities, the opportunities to make your own choices increases. This game is constantly about giving you, the player, the ability to play how you want to play, which segues me right into our next section, choice and consequences. I've made countless videos talking about player choice, consequence, and false promises. Many games nowadays, your choices don't ultimately matter. Think games like Telltale, Cyberpunk. There are some that do exactly as promised. Until Dawn is a great example of that. Thanks Alicia for pointing that one out to me. So where does Dying Light 2 fall? Is it like a Telltale game or is it like Until Dawn? I will say that I am very much impressed with the player choice element. I spoke to both Alana Pierce and Kev. They both had to say that the game reminds them of Fallout, and to be honest, they're right. This game is much more like an RPG than I ever intended it to be. For example, each dialogue averages about 3 to 4 options on what you can say. Jonah, the voice actor, easily had to record tens of thousands of lines, and with our gameplay only being 3 hours long, I probably heard him speak hundreds of lines in that short time. On top of this, you have the outfit system, which functions exactly as we predicted. Some items grant bonuses to your stats and overall improve your character, how Aiden moves, his health, and much more. Like I said, this game goes a lot more in depth than Dying Light 1. It may be a direct sequel to Dying Light, but it functions and plays completely different. And when you go ahead and you have the major choices, you can only really choose between peacekeepers and survivors. And with who you choose to side with, you will gain extra bonuses in that environment. For example, in one particular zone, if you choose the survivors, they will go and put zip lines around the map, while peacekeepers will go and give you car bomb traps. And since we were so early on into the game, Aiden was kind of a middleman, so I could attack both peacekeepers and survivors if I wanted to. I don't know how the game would react if I went with one certain faction all the way through. Like if I made survivor choices every single time, would peacekeepers go and attack me on sight? I'm not sure about that. In my playthrough, I didn't do any major choices that had massive environmental changes. I don't know if that's cut content or content that just wasn't in my build. You have so many choices to make as you play the story and as you play your quests. And with that, we'll transition to the story and quest section, as these two are heavily tied together. Of course, no spoilers. Honestly, the story is far more engaging and interesting to me already with what I have played than in Dying Light 1. I do have to say, I'm a big sucker for RPG type games and games where you can make your own character, build your own character, and show clear signs of progression, and that is done extraordinarily well here. The writing looks good, there's no cringy dialogue that I've noticed. I'm not exactly sure if Chris Avellon's work is still embedded into the game. If it's not, you can definitely tell that they took inspiration from it. Like we said beforehand, it plays like an RPG. It reminds us of Fallout, and that would make sense since Chris Avellon did have a heavy role in the game at one point. Jonah does an amazing job as Aiden. Other supporting characters do a pretty good job as well. The lip syncing needs a little bit of work, but overall it is pretty solid. I don't see this story falling down the path of being super generic, but we will have to go and see. Rosario Dawson, she's great. You can tell she's having a fun time as the character. The back and forth between her and Aiden, it's great. Lots of bickering, it's exciting. But to go ahead and kind of wrap up this section, there are indeed faction specific quests and rewards. And in an interview that I did with Timon, he did say that if you play co-op and you do these missions in your friend's world, you go back and keep the rewards. So if I go and do a Peacekeeper mission, I get that reward, I can take it back to my world. Dying Light 2 has an amazing world for you, and if you wanted to, you can have up to 3 friends to join you. There is a lot to see, lots to explore, which leads us to the next section, open world and exploration. During our time playing Dying Light 2, we had 2 big demos. The first one took place in the outskirts area, while the second took place in the city. And to be honest, I enjoyed the city way more than the outskirts. For us, the sections were not connected. After talking to one of the devs, it is my understanding that you may use the underground subway station in order to get from one area to the next. But for us, the subways were blocked, so we couldn't get there. And when we wanted to switch over to the areas, we had to pause, go to the main menu, go to the different area. What I said earlier in this video is that I love the verticality. The verticality is present in both areas, but you will clearly have more opportunities to do it in the city with the vents and the skyscrapers. There's a lot to see. I think the paraglider is my favorite new addition to the game. It makes exploration fun and easy. It also sort of functions like a safety mechanism at times. So if you mess up a run, you can quickly pull it before falling to your death. Or, you know, you can just land on a car like traditional Dying Light fashion. The AI sing songs together, the AI fight each other, the world is alive and offers a perfect sandbox in the open world genre. And I know everybody wants to know, how big is the map? It's massive. I know the devs avoid the question sometimes, but they are not wrong when they say it's hard to describe because of the verticality. I would say that the map is as big as Dying Light 1 combined together with the following, but then go and quadruple the height and verticality of Dying Light 1. You can get up pretty high into the buildings in Dying Light 2. I'm not sure if you can go to these right here. I kept looking around to try to get my ass up there, but I was pretty unsuccessful, and I was also running out of playtime. But you can go and see how big this world is and how far it goes. I will say, if you loved Old Town, you'll love this. If you love the slums in Dying Light 1, you'll love this too. I'm just curious to know how the paraglider would function in the outskirts area. I can see that being chaotic, especially in co-op. That's going to be a ton of fun. And I know many of you had questions about the grappling hook. We didn't have access to it. It wasn't in the skill tree, or at least in my build, which means that it may be an item that is handed to us as we progress through the story. The open world is great, offers a lot of fun gameplay, but it does have a lot of bugs in it. Let me go ahead and explain. Now, for this section, I know I'm not allowed to show you gameplay of the bugs that I ran into, but I tried my hardest to essentially break this game. I wanted to see all the crazy shit. Remember, of course, this is an early access build. It's expected that the game will have bugs, but I would be doing a disservice to you if I didn't tell you the shit that I ran into, because to be honest, there was a lot. Texture models did sometimes glitch out and they were all over the place. Puddles were floating above the ground. I ran into this issue where when you get into a circular tower, you can go and wall run. Aiden will phase through it and sometimes get stuck. There's a part where you have to do a cable puzzle where you essentially turn on the power, and sometimes the cable glitches out depending on the environment that you're in. And by the way, the addition of the cables and wind mode like puzzles are a ton of fun. But back to bugs. I think the main one that I ran into was when you pause and look at the menu, Aiden will be standing there, and depending on the weapon that he's holding, it sometimes goes and glitches through his body. It does make for some funny moments, I will say. Tech1 said they were committed to fixing all the bugs, so if they are, they shouldn't have a problem with this section at all. Now, since the embargo dropped, many people have had issues with two massive things: the HUD and also the health bars. I can understand all the criticisms here. There are times where the HUD is overwhelming and there is a lot going on. Even the options in Quest overlap on each other. It does show that it needs some polishing. Honestly, there's a simple solution for this. Allow the player base to toggle health bars and also the HUD. I think what might be really beneficial to the game is having the HUD disappear once you start doing parkour. We saw that the music reacts to how you play, and the HUD should learn from this and adjust accordingly. As for the health bars, personally, I don't have a problem with it, but it does raise some questions about the future content of the game. Will I ever run into zombies that are higher levels than me, or are they going to be the same as I progress through the story? If it's the same, I don't see the need for the health bars. For human AI and bosses, sure, that makes sense and it works, but it should be a toggleable option. Bonus points too if Tech1 does this, because it will also serve as an accessibility option. And now that I beat you down with all the shit and all the jank, let's talk about what I actually love about the gameplay with this one. Like I said, game is far more like an RPG than I was expecting. A lot more depth to everything, your crafting items, your outfits, your weapon mods, and much more. They really do give you the freedom and ability to customize your playstyle. The gameplay is a ton of fun. They give you so many tools, and the game is overall a lot easier to get into than Dying Light 1. The skill tree is massive, and each skill gives you the opportunity to do so much. The stealth is locked behind a skill. Quicker stealth is locked behind a skill. Kicks, drop kicks, wall runs are skills. And this really goes back to what I said beforehand, where the game will be different in the beginning versus the end, strictly because of your skills. You have all these different ways to play, and the best part is you can do it during the day and also during the nighttime. The new nighttime cycle is actually top tier. Night actually feels like a challenge, and it feels like there are lots of activities to do. It feels that the day serves one purpose and nighttime serves another. They are both equally utilized in order to help with the progression of your character, help complete missions, and much more. It's not a joke like the night in Dying Light 1, especially with the introduction of chases that rise up to level 4 where volatiles start to appear. It gets crazy and more intense as time goes on. What I do like a lot is that there are nighttime specific missions, and I tried doing one of them during the day, and you actually have to go back and do it during the night. It's quite challenging to try to do these nighttime missions during the day. It's possible, but it's unlikely. And that just goes and leads to the overall purpose of the nighttime within this game. And with all that said, that kind of wraps up all the mechanical portion of this game so far. And now moving forward, we will head into optimization for PC, followed by last gen talk afterwards. As for specs with this game, I don't have them. I will say that the PCs that we were playing on, they were beasts. I don't know anything aside from it running on an Intel CPU. What I can say is that the game is fairly optimized. It was definitely not running ray tracing. That setting was off, so all the gameplay that you are seeing from everybody, there's no ray tracing on. It does look great and feel great if you're on PC. Definitely up that field of view immediately when you get it. The graphics and the world, like I said, they're colorful. It's not bland like it was in Dying Light 1. Dying Light was like a mixture of orange and gray. It looked rough in some areas, to be honest with you. And after spending 3 to 4 hours, you can tell that Dying Light 2 is well optimized, so props to them for that. Techland has had some pretty solid ports recently. They recently had what is considered one of the best ports on the Nintendo Switch for the original Dying Light, so it does give me high hopes for other platforms that I didn't get a chance to see. I will also like to note that the graphics during the nighttime, the contrast of reds and purples are certainly a sight to see. I do enjoy it very much. But now let's get to the big one, last gen and PlayStation 4. So it's okay. It runs exactly how you would expect it to run. I will say that I played it on a PS4 Pro, not a base PS4. I'm not a hardware technical guy, so I'm not knowledgeable on the power difference between the two. But on the PS4 Pro, in my experience, it runs at about 30 FPS as you would expect with a game like this. Now with that said, it does feel pretty slowed down. Now I don't know if this is because of the problems that we stated in the beginning of the video with the parkour section, or the game being at 30 FPS, or a mixture of both of them, but it does feel pretty slow. The graphics are nowhere near the trash levels of Cyberpunk. The game looks bright. It does have a lot of motion blur to go ahead and help the console perform. I unfortunately don't have any footage to show you. I will say that it is a game that you can actually pick up and enjoy. It's not going to be like what it was on day one for Cyberpunk. I do have to say though, I played in the outskirts. I don't know how it runs in the city, which is by far a more performance intensive area. I would say if you don't mind the game being at 30 FPS, then by all means, get the game. I think the parkour system is so complex that it needs that extra frame rate to fully utilize it. I don't want to be the deciding factor for you to purchase the game or not, but from what I have played and from what I experienced, with everything being so much more complex than Dying Light 1, I do think that 60 FPS is a must. I would say if you're on the fence, please wait for gameplay to come out before making a decision. But me personally, I would try to prioritize playing this game at 60 FPS or higher. And with all that said, we can now go ahead and give my final thoughts about Dying Light 2. To go ahead and tie everything together, let's recap. The parkour, it's complex. It's a little bit slower than what we are used to, and it certainly needs some more fine tuning with its speed and magnetic pulse. Combat is by far the biggest improvement over the original. There are many quality of life upgrades in the sequel, with stealth, new weapons, tools, extra parkour abilities. The opportunities to make your choices on how you want to play are there. That is the main focus of Dying Light 2, giving you the tools to play the game that you want to play. With player choice and consequences, it pairs perfectly well with the new engaging story that is presented to us. The world is beautiful. The verticality is an expectation that it definitely delivers on. I will say that the current build that I had, I ran into a lot of bugs, but as Techland stated, that will be resolved. The bugs range from textures to aiding glitching out and phasing through the map and more. But finally, on PC, Dying Light 2 is pretty well optimized, and on PS4 Pro, it runs at a solid 30 FPS with lots of motion blur. Honestly, I do have high hopes for this game after playing it. The parkour is really the only thing that needs more fine-tuning, and this game will deliver on all expectations. I do enjoy the new RPG elements in the game, even including the health bars. To be honest, they're not that big of a deal to me. They're not distracting to me. I don't mind it. One more final thing to mention is everything is tied neatly together by the music. The music is the icing on the cake. The composer did a phenomenal job at brilliantly having the environment and player decisions be tied to what you are hearing. The music in Dying Light 2 will follow your decisions, your actions, and the story at the same time. The music is reacting to your parkour, how well your parkour is, the combat, and much more. The music wraps everything up together nicely and hand delivers it to you on a plate. I was a massive fan of the original soundtrack. Not only did this composer pay homage to it, but he gave his own unique version and twist that will be just as memorable. I am excited for what's to come. The future of Dying Light 2 looks very bright, and I can't wait to see you there on February 4th, 2022. And with all of that said, a huge thank you to absolutely everyone in the community. You guys have done so much for me, so much for this channel, so much for each other. It really does go a long way. I am forever grateful for all the support that you've been giving to this channel over the past year. I pivoted to Dying Light 2 content almost exactly a year ago, and it's safe to say that we've come a pretty long way. I chat with hundreds of you every day. I talk to other creators daily. I meet new creators. I got the opportunity to go and meet Techland, play the game, and I'm forever thankful for it. Everything that we've built together for this channel is slowly coming together. And thank you all so much for this journey, and I can't wait to continue it. With all that said, please stay fresh, stay human, have a good night, and more importantly, good luck.